Hi, I'm Dédé Wilson, and I want to tell you a little bit about accurate dry measuring. Around the world, a lot of baking is done with weight, but many American cookbooks, most American cookbooks, use volume measurement, and there's definitely a better way to do it to get the most accurate results, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So it starts with your equipment. A measuring cup is not necessarily a measuring cup. If you have some at home that are dented, toss them. If you bought them at a dollar store, might not be the caliber that you need. So start with a reputable brand from a reputable company. And then your set probably has a quarter cup, third cup, half cup, and 1 cup measurer. And that's what this set is over here. And that certainly will take you through any recipe. But if you bake a lot, I really highly suggest that you also buy a set that has odd measurements like 3/4 cup, 2/3 cup, 1.5 cup. And this way, if your recipe calls for one of those amounts, you can just go into your dry mixture once with the precise size that you need, and your measurement will be more accurate that way. So tools. Tools are the first thing. Once you have what you need, then let me show you what I do. In my books and on my website, I use King Arthur all-purpose flour for all of my recipe testing. This is their premium product. It's an 11.7% protein, and it's called all-purpose for a reason. It means it's their most versatile flour. You could use this for cookies, muffins, cakes, breads, pizzas. So if you have one flour in your house, this is the one to have. This is the 10-pound bag. You can get 5, 10, and 25-pound bags from their website at kingarthurflour.com. I actually buy 50 pounds at a time, but you know, I have flour in buckets this big. But for home use, those are the sizes that you can get. And when I get home, I transfer it to an airtight container. So this is how I keep my flour, and now I'm going to show you what we do to measure it. So the first thing is the flour is here in the airtight container. Now let's say I haven't been baking for a while. This flour has compressed within the container, just like it would also be compressed down within the bag if you had it in the bag. So what I do with before I measure is I always just give it a little whisk, and this just aerates it a little bit. Now I describe this in the beginning of all my cookbooks because this is going to affect the amount that's in your cup. If you went in and measured it when it was compressed, there would be more flour in your cup. This way it's aerated. This is going to give you the size that I want you to have. So I'm going to take my 3/4 cup. My recipe is calling for 3/4 of a cup of flour. I've aerated it a little bit. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to scoop up a generous amount. You want it so that it's mounded over the top. And then using a small icing spatula, or of course you could just use a butter knife, what we're going to do is we're going to use the flat edge of the measuring cup, get rid of the excess, and then you can see this is exactly the amount that we need. Now, my recipes use this, which is called the dip and sweep method. We'll do it one more time. I mean, for obvious reasons, right? You're dipping, you're sweeping, and that's how my books and recipes are developed. But different recipe writers have different ideas about how to measure ingredients. King Arthur actually recommends the spooning method. That calls for a different procedure. So what they want you to do is scoop the flour into your measuring cup. And again, you would know this because if you have one of their books or if you go on their website, it would explain that this is how they like to measure dry products. And basically you're doing the exact same thing. You're spooning in enough so that it's overflowing, and then you're using a tool, butter knife, icing spatula to sweep off the top. And that's all there is to it, but believe me, this is the beginning of your recipe. If you start out right, it'll end up better. So that's the flour. Dry ingredients also, baking powder and baking soda. Let me just show you that really quickly. I transfer my baking soda to an airtight container. Baking powder usually already comes in an airtight container, but I like to transfer my baking soda to one. And then measuring spoons. So I have the same thing here as with the measuring cups. This is an off size set. So this one right here is 1.5 teaspoons. I can just go in once. And it's the same idea. You're going to overfill and then sweep. Dip and sweep, same thing, and you're done. So accurate dry measuring is easy, but do remember the points that I brought to you. Accurate equipment, both cups and spoons, and then make sure you're using the ingredients that are called for. In this case, King Arthur all-purpose flour and the leaveners. I definitely suggest transferring to an airtight container, and then you'll be good to go. You can find these tips and many more at Bakepedia.com.